there's all these stories about, guys over in Macedonia who are running these fake news sites.
Number 24 is content farms in Macedonia.
Бидејќи ако се направи грешка, таа ќе биде кобна. Нема враќање назад.
So Europe need to remain more sexy lady in the world.
Ајде, мајката!
Господа ја чува Македонија и низините граѓани.
Okay, now I'm recording. Jeez.
All right.
I don't know what I'm doing. Who am I and why am I here?
You're a boomer trying to navigate
I'll
millennial
tell you.
world.
It's, anyway. Sorry, I was late because I needed my second cup of coffee, which I'm now.
What time is it there?
So,
Is it
8:10.
You're
No,
on your
it's
second
8.
cup.
Second cup, yeah.
Seriously? Wow.
I don't. I get up. I have a very strange schedule. I don't have coffee until I am done with my workout and everything and breakfast, and start having breakfast. So I get up. I have what I call a quiet time. It's just a time of prayer and reading some scriptures. Then I go to the gym.
Don't go straight to Twitter like normal people do, right?
No. Then I go to the gym. Then I go for a swim. Then I come back and shower, although I haven't showered yet because I'm running out of time today. And then I have breakfast and coffee. So yeah, it's a you might call it weird, but that's okay. I am weird. I cop to that. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah, the no social media after waking up, it's weird.
oh no, I can't. No, I don't want to know what's going on in the world. I mean, I'm forced to when I go to the gym because there's a bank of 17 TVs that I have to watch, but I try not to pay attention too much. All right, now my coffee cup is running into my speaker here. So anyway, okay, well we'll navigate that. So all right, are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, all right.
People are having barbecues around. There is music. It hasn't rained yet, which is super weird for the May Day barbecue in Skopje in Macedonia. Usually we had this theory that because we have this imposed holiday, which made up holiday that we used for barbecuing, that it always rains.
Yeah. So, okay. In 3, 2, 1. The first round of presidential elections in Macedonia is over, and man, did SDSM get a shellacking. The VMRO candidate, Gordana Siljanovska Davkova, beat incumbent and apparently outgoing president, Stevo Pendarovski, by 2-1. The next round is set for Wednesday, May 8, and it will be held along with parliamentary elections. One of the results of these elections is that it seems that SDSM supporters are now just seeing the proverbial writing on the wall, indicating their support for other parties and candidates. Who will win the presidential election? Who will win the most votes in the parliamentary election? Who will form the next government? And why is the party of Ali Ahmeti so insistent on having a 1,000-year Reich? We'll discuss all of this and nothing else on this episode of the Macedonian Content Farmers Podcast. I'm Jason Miko, coming to you from the foot of the Catalina Mountains in Oro Valley, Arizona.
And this is Cvetin in Skopje in soon-to-be free Macedonia.
Amen to that, brother. Today is Wednesday, May 1st. It is May Day, a commie holiday.
Yep.
Yeah, barbecues, but a holdover from commie holiday. Bleeding hearts of the world unite.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why you guys still celebrate that, but anyway. Yes, and of course a perfect day for barbecue.
We managed to cut it down. It used to be a 2-day holiday, if you can believe that.
Well, and then of course if May Day falls on a Saturday or Sunday, then that means the Friday or the Monday have to be holidays. So
of course,
we just got,
So we have a whole bunch load of holidays now, mixing up with Easter, which is on Sunday, the Orthodox Easter under the Julian calendar. There were huge lines of people leaving the country for Greece this morning. But we expect...
But they'll be back in time to vote.
They should. I mean, Wednesday is a day off as well, so they can theoretically connect with Wednesday, and with minimum wastage of days off from work, they can make it like 10 days, 2 weeks holidays. It's ridiculous. But it's just expected that many will return late evening on Wednesday to vote, if not sooner.
Okay, well, good. So now, if you had mail-in ballots, of course, you could, as an option, but still in-person voting, then you could mail in your ballot and then take the holiday and not feel guilty about it.
And the embassy also wouldn't have to worry what to do now with all these pesky voters voting the wrong way, not voting for their preferred candidate. Super annoying.
It's not what is it? It's not who votes, but who counts the votes.
Exactly.
That. So, yeah. Well, we have got elections 1 week from today. This is episode 172 of the Macedonian Content Farmers Podcast. Again, May Day. We have elections in a week. So the elections last week, so on April 24, just as I said, a shellacking, to use Barry Obama's word, in 2012. Yeah, exactly. So 2-1. So Gordana got 40%, Stevo got 20%. And there were 7 candidates, so the other candidates split it. Of course, now Dewey, their candidate, Bujar Osmani, is claiming that he beat the Arben Taravari. I don't know, 120 to 80,000, I think, something like that.
Yeah,
so,
about 40,000 difference.
Yeah. So of course, Dewey is claiming that that they are, the legitimate, quote unquote, representative of Macedonia's minority Albanians. And that they have to be able to form, and they have to be able to form a government with whoever wins the parliamentary elections, and that's why I kind of and apparently Bujar Osmani went on a rant. He's the foreign minister, and he had a press conference at the foreign ministry, and then he starts talking about local domestic politics. Yeah. To me, that's kind of a conflict of interest. It seems a bit odd. You're not representing the party there; you're representing Macedonia and the Macedonian people. So, but he says that whoever forms the next government. Well, he called out VMRO, I think, because VMRO Miskolski said we're going to form a government with the Albanian opposition if we get the most seats in Parliament. And it's kind of like Ali Ahmeti and Bujar Osmani insist on having their 1,000-year Reich. Doesn't matter what, they're going to insist on being in government because, well, they're afraid, obviously, that their crimes are going to get uncovered. They're afraid of being out of power. They're afraid of losing the spoils, etc., etc., etc. So,
you're very nervous.
Good. No. Excellent. I hope Ali Ahmeti has a stroke.
He doesn't look good at the stump speeches.
Yeah. So, what can we expect?
Well, the path forward is clear. We have elections on Wednesday. Everybody assumed that the first round of the presidential elections will be like a major poll before the main event, before this main election on March 8, when we have the general election, and the second round, the decisive second round of the presidential elections. And that this first round, which does not decide anything, it's going to be like a big poll, and that, but also it's going to drive people toward the winner. And this couldn't have been more conclusive for VMRO and for Gordana Siljanovska Davkova. She massacred Pendarovski. She won. So the difference between them is larger than the amount of votes he won. He won about 180, and she beat him by 183,000. So she completely destroyed him. We didn't really see this coming. Party leader, VMRO leader Mitskovsky was saying like he expects over 100,000. He would say something like, I'll be happy with 120, something like that. 180. SDSM would say it's going to be close, We wish we had the Albanians voting for us, but even this way it's not going to be hugely decisive. And then we'll beat her in the second round with the Albanian vote coming for us. And this really didn't happen. So there are projections based on the number of votes that all the 7 candidates won. The projections are VMRO would win about 55 seats out of 120 in the parliament. So nearly a majority to form a government by themselves. Dewey would win about 17, I think. Taravari, the Albanian coalition, would win about 12, 13, something like that. And then the other big winner of the SDSM would win, I think about 25.
Forgot about that.
Yeah. But if they last until Wednesday as a unified party, they would win about 23, 25, I think. is the projection. So half of what VMRO would win,
Right.
less than half. So the other big winner who greatly overperformed expectations is Maxim Dmitrievsky. He's the mayor of Kumanovo who left the SDSM party. He's been running on a patriotic left-wing platform, like SDSM, but for still normal people and patriots. He won about 80,000 votes. He's even with Taravari, with the lower-ranked Albanian candidate. So he would win about 10, 11 seats, just as many as the Albanian opposition. And he's openly courting VMRO for a post-election coalition. VMRO is openly endorsing him as a partner after the elections. So VMRO would have 53, 55, let's say, and Maxim would have 10 more. We are well over 61, which is needed to form a government. And then obviously they need an Albanian partner, but if the Macedonian parties have over 61, they will not be blackmailed by DUI. DUI was able to blackmail SDSM after the last elections when SDSM and VMRO were almost tied at about 41 to 43 seats each. Now, with VMRO winning 55 and SDSM not even in the competition, VMRO can easily tell DUI to F off and form. They're even more loudly and more outspoken in VMRO about forming a post-election coalition with Taravari and Bidel Kasami and the rest of the Vlen party, the Vlen coalition, the coalition of opposition Albanian parties. Then they are determined to get together with Dmitrievsky. So they seem even more set on this Albanian partner and continue to spar with DUI, continue to argue with DUI as election day nears by. And DUI is getting very nervous. Ahmeti is out. He held a rally in downtown Skopje with a large crowd, and they were chanting UČK, the name of his paramilitary. He was giving threats to Mickovsky, like, you're a little kid, I grew up in war, you grew up with cookies and milk, and you're going to puke them all out now once you see the election results, blah, blah, blah. After the elections, Ahmeti says, well, maybe somebody got carried away shouting UČK, maybe. That wasn't the nicest thing to do, Kids, what you going to do? You can't control everybody at your rally. So they're visibly nervous, visibly scared that they're going to be left out together with SDSM and that they're going to face a lot of criminal investigations. And even the prosecutors have woken up. They sense which way the wind is blowing. They sense that VMRO is coming. So the prosecutor appointed by SDSM and DUI, he approved for the first time ever on a set of charges proposed by the State Anti-Corruption Commission, and they're covering a couple of significant SDSM party officials, including their spokesman, Darko Kaevski. They were in the government institution that manages sports and also manages sports grants. So it's probably a corrupt scheme that they were giving grants to sports clubs that didn't deserve this, to their close to their party. But it's interesting that the spokesman, he's the son-in-law of Albert Musliu, who is a very prominent Albanian commentator, receives huge amounts of grants from the US Embassy, from the internationals, always there to support the SDSM and DUI line. And so, this is a very significant move against pretty serious player in the SDSM DUI commentariat. And the spokesman who is being charged, he refused a seat, a spot on a nomination for a member of parliament, because he said it's too low. It's like he was given 7th seat out of 20 in the first electoral district, where SDSM is usually strong, and they should win 7 seats. They should win 8, 9. People should enter parliament. So he made the first indication that the party is collapsing. They may not even win the fifth. That maybe even the fifth seed will not be a safe place on the list. So it's all the signs are pointing to when your top people are refusing to be on the list, and even this doesn't save them from criminal investigation, and the prosecutors are starting to cozy up to the incoming new government. Everything is pointing to a very bad outcome for the Social Democrats and a very long winter for them, which they may not survive as a party.
Well, again, I know we've talked about this on this podcast before, written about it, and I always like to point to the example of your southern neighbor, Greece, PASOK, which was in power forever and ever and ever, and I don't even know if they exist anymore.
Oh, they're number 2. They're okay, but I think they're back to number 2 because the colored, let's say the U.S. liberal style colored party they elected, Syriza, they elected a homosexual for leader, and it doesn't. Yeah, it's a bit testy proposition in Greece. So now I think that PASOK is back to number 2, or maybe they're even like the two left-wing parties.
Yeah, but for a while there, at least they had almost disappeared from the scene. So it's entirely possible. Well, and although I've always maintained that within ethnic Macedonians, you've got the two parties, and they used to be much more different. There's some similarities now, which I don't like, but in general, they've been around for a long time. They have platforms, whereas the ethnic Albanian parties come and go based on who the leader is. And of course, the classic example is Arben Shaferi. DPA was the largest ethnic Albanian party in Macedonia. He died, it fell apart. You look at others, PDP, Emir Meri died, the party fell apart. The same thing is going to happen with I think, with Ali Ahmeti and Dewey. Once he dies or goes to jail, the party will fall apart. Although since they have been around for over 20 years, it's possible that they won't fall apart, but will splinter into one or more parties, and we've seen that, the shattering and the splintering amongst them. So going back to parliamentary elections and the numbers you laid out there, so it is interesting that, and you said that, and it's taken as a given that whoever the Macedonian party that forms the government must have a junior ethnic Albanian party. That's not codified into law. That's just tradition.
It's not.
Right. And interestingly, it gives lie to the statement from ethnic Albanians in Macedonia, ethnic Albanian leadership in Macedonia, as well as their friends and supporters in the NGOs and the diplomatic and bureaucratic world of the State Department, the EU, etc., that they had to have a war to fight for more rights because their voices were never heard, when the fact remains that ethnic Albanian parties in Macedonia have always been a part of the government of Macedonia. And which to me means that, frankly, they're just lousy legislators. If they couldn't make their case known and heard, then they're simply lousy legislators. That's always been my opinion, because they don't have platforms. The ethnic Albanian parties in Macedonia don't have platforms other than because of an immutable characteristic, that is, our ethnicity. We therefore should get lots of state handouts, lots of government jobs, lots of government contracts, etc. And of course, we should be able to fly the flag of the Republic of Albania wherever we want. Albanian should be a second language that everybody else has to speak, all based on an immutable characteristic of ethnicity. It has nothing to do with things like, which most people, including Macedonia's Albanians and everybody else, their platforms don't have anything to do with job creation, wealth creation, the rule of law, excellent healthcare, excellent educational system, all of the things that actually make life worth living. They have nothing to say about these things. It's all based on ethnicity. It is like the radical black activists in America that say we deserve jobs, we deserve places in academia, we deserve this, that, and the other because of an immutable characteristic, our skin color. You know, as Douglas Murray, the British thinker and author, likes to say, I think your skin color is the least interesting thing about you. And he's absolutely right. So, anyway, so yeah, so anyway, so if VMRO and Maxim's party get enough, you know, get 63, 65 seats, then sure, Taravari and the others can come on board and be a partner. They can get the Ministry of Reading newspapers, but they will not be able to blackmail. So,
yeah, they won't be able to blackmail like Dewey did. Dewey did crazily well under SDSM. They extracted humongous concessions. Speaker of Parliament was to begin with. They currently hold the Prime Minister. They hold departments never held by Albanians for national security reasons, such as finance and
they have a foreign minister
affairs.
too.
In foreign,
yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
In foreign affairs, they are openly negotiating about the Macedonian national identity, while we can form a government without Albanians, but we would not be able to pass laws that tackle cultural issues, and it's a flexible list, so it can mean a lot of things. It could mean like the budget on education or something like that. This is how the law works. So VMRO would need a majority of the ethnic minorities in parliament to be able to adopt some laws. But there is no such clause protecting the Macedonian national identity. So there is no problem that an ethnic Albanian foreign minister from DUI negotiates Macedonian national identity with the Bulgarians, with the EU, with the Greeks, whatever. But if we dare mention anything in the opposite direction, we are the nationalists. So, and legally, we are not allowed to do anything that would undermine the Albanian national identity. So the amount of concessions they extracted from SDSM was huge. This greatly damaged SDSM. So the SDSM was destroyed by the concessions to the Bulgarians. This is especially poisonous to the SDSM supporters. They were destroyed by giving not an inch, giving a hand, giving, you know, both hands to the Albanian parties, to the point that half of the government are now ethnic Albanians. And we had that moment when VMRO replaced two SDSM people in the government, but they wouldn't come for the picture taking, you know, with Talat Jaferi as prime minister. So there were like 4 maybe ethnic Macedonian ministers, because SDSM gives one seat to an Albanian, and then Bojan Marecic is like Serbian, Montenegrin, not exactly Macedonian. But even if we count him, I think we were down to like 5 people, 5 Macedonians in the government, and everybody else Albanian, and the government has like 15 people. It was ridiculous. Yeah. SDSM continued to trade strong departments like justice for weak departments like the environment, just so they can say that nominally the number of Macedonians and Albanians is even. But you know, even having half and half is way above the Albanian representation in the population, and even this was achieved by SDSM giving important departments for nothing. As you said, the Department of Reading newspapers. So this was the second thing that destroyed them, and the third thing were the passports. I mean, this was like incompetence at planetary level, and it destroyed Oliver Spasovski as a potential presidential candidate or as a challenger for leadership of the party, but he will be a faction. So they're now talking about what we do after we lose the elections. Kovachevsky, still the leader, is giving messages to our comrades, you know, focus on the enemy, not on each other. So this is said in public, you know, in rallies, so everybody hears
with the actual word comrade.
They use. Yeah.
Still bloody commies.
Yeah, they use it in Macedonian. It's drugarki i drugari, comrades and comrades, like female comrades and male comrades. Then Vinko Filipče, he's the most obvious challenger. Former healthcare minister, huge number of corruption scandals and disasters, but a lot of investment into him to prop up his public image during COVID. handpicked by Zoran Zaev, so practically he would be the leader chosen by Zaev. He's running in the 4th electoral district. It's possible that thanks to Zaev's influence there, he will not lose by an enormous margin compared to, I mean, he will lose badly, but he would still be able to say that proportionately he lost by less than other, like Oliver Spasovski in the northeastern district. So he will be able to say, listen, I did relatively well, I should be the leader. In the meantime, there are reports that Zaev's brother has fled the country, Zaev's cousin has fled the country.
Oh.
Zaev went to the United States for this Colored Revolution boot camp seminar organized by Canvas. Not sure if he's coming back, we'll have to see.
Hey, I love that picture. I don't know if you listened to that 1 hour or whatever, multi-hour seminar. I haven't, but I love that picture that I found of him looking just totally hapless in an audience, listening to somebody talk about how to overthrow a government with paint and raised fists and all that crap.
The worst English imaginable.
Yeah.
Reading from a cell phone, reading from his prepared remarks from a cell phone.
Oh,
probably written in Cyrillic, like English written in Cyrillic letters, so he can read it better. So Philips is running for party leader. Spasovski is probably going to try. And then we need to have somebody from the Skopje wing, like Pendarovski would have been a candidate. He will still get, let's say, the DUI vote. And after the elections, he can say, okay, I got way more votes than the party got votes because of the DUI. But he was so badly beaten in the first round, so that it's really, really going to be very difficult for him to run for party leader after what he suffered. Maybe somebody like Shekerinska, Petra Shilegov, somebody from the Skopje faction, the Soros faction, they will probably have to try to, maybe even Mila Tsarovska, who I expect will eventually try to assert herself as leader, as a Soros far-left, US-style, crazy left-wing candidate. But yeah, so they're preparing for this type of post-election shambles, while still, they're still holding some theoretical hope that if VMRO does not mishandles coalition talks with the Albanian opposition and with Maxim, that they may have, like, Maxim was our friend until recently, the voters are, mutual voters. They're actually saying this. The Albanians, may like Stevo Pendarovski better than Gordana, so if they all gang together, maybe we could win. But it's very, very unlikely. VMRO will be talking with the Albanians and with Maxim for post-election coalition, but they will insist. And Mitskovsky is saying so. I need to hear it from you guys now. Now is the time that you say that we are opposition parties and we are endorsing the only remaining opposition candidate in the presidential race. So you will not be able to, vote for Pendarovski, but then ask us to join a coalition. And there's also talk of boycotting the second round. So this would
boycott from the Albanians, or
now even SDSM.
Oh, okay.
It was initially DUI, but now even SDSM. This would mean that you're given 2 ballots, and you will have to explain to the polling committee that you just want 1 ballot, you just want the general elections ballot, but please keep the presidential ballot, and so it doesn't count as if I voted. This drives down the turnout, and if turnout is below 40%, the presidential elections fail, and then the Albanian parties, DUI especially, will be able to say, we have to change the way the president is elected, and it will need to go through parliament, and we need to have veto power in parliament, and SDSM would contribute to creating chaos and a political crisis for VMRO, but it would also be an extremely demoralizing message for their voters. Technically, it would be difficult. They will say, we lost, let's just try to, make it worse for them before we run. They will, technically it will be difficult. People will get confused. Older people will, say, get the wrong ballot, so they'll vote for president. They'll try to give it back, and get the general elections ballot. It could be they could actually lose seats in parliament over the message and over the technicalities linked to this type of boycott. So,
well, not only that, but as we saw in 2018 with the referendum, apparently, it failed, and yet the government went ahead anyway. So,
yeah.
so I mean, there's
It wouldn't be a huge deal. Even if there is no president elected, we could just appoint the speaker as interim president, and maybe we'll have to hold presidential elections every few months. I don't know.
Well, and of course, the speaker is right now. The speaker is ethnic Macedonian, so from SDSM.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
If we count SDSM as ethnic Macedonians, still.
Well, they still have the word Macedonia in their title. Although I'm curious as to when they're going to dump that. I remember Zoran Zaev talking about that some years ago, and of course that never happened. On a side note related to that, I find it interesting. I did listen to a. I did this as a service to our readers or our listeners. I did this as a service. I listened to a Greek podcast specifically about the elections in Macedonia, and it's called.
Seriously.
It's called the Greek something or other. I forget what it's called. The Greek Malaka or something. Right. It was only 10 minutes long, but
okay.
The main speaker, somebody from Greece. I don't have a lot of details here. Apparently, I can't remember. Anyway,
yeah.
She was
to the podcast.
Yeah, she was saying that
it was all Greek to me.
The guest that was being interviewed was talking about how Miskolsky, kept saying during the campaign, Macedonia, and he wouldn't use the N-word. And I find it hypocritical that people like this Greek analyst, and others didn't call out Stevo or Dace or others for also just simply saying Macedonia in their speeches, in their ads. I watched that the one soccer ad with SDSM had with Dace, and everybody was doing it. I don't know about the Albanians, but at least on the Macedonian side, everybody was just saying Macedonian. So it's hypocrisy, but we expect that from our friends on the left. So I want to just touch briefly. I don't know how much time we have here, but one of the reasons I think that Gordana did so well was because, and I mentioned this in the column that I've written this week, The Big Momentum, was that she was talking about issues that appealed directly to the hearts and minds of Macedonians, and talking about, they might seem like little things, and certainly to our friends in the State Department and the EU, they're anathema because it has to do with, identity and pride. And identity and pride in your nation, your language, and your culture, and your history. And Stevo was running around talking about this vague idea of European orientation, which is no guarantee, as we've seen time and time again. Macedonians already know they're European. And Gordana, I think, and Miskolsky put out some thoughtful ideas and paths for EU membership, other than just constantly giving in to the childish demands of Greece in the first instance, and now Bulgaria. But as our friends on the left constantly say, there is no alternative, which is another way of saying shut up and sit down. But they didn't want to. I mean, and that, and the VMRO candidates, not just Gordana and Miskolsky, but others, have talked thoughtful ways of addressing these issues and moving Macedonia towards the EU. I mean, my goodness, you've waited almost 20 years already, so it's another couple of years anyway. So, but I think that's the reason that she got such turnouts, because she was talking about issues that really affected Macedonians. Plus, the fact that SDSM and Dewey wouldn't talk about the crime and the corruption, which of course they caused, and I don't blame them for not talking about it. So And VMRO, of course, had, what was their plan called? 1198, 1198?
1198 is like practical steps what to do about the country, like infrastructure, like tax and normal stuff normal party would do, education, healthcare proposals. Generally, we expect that the Taravari, the Albanian parties, will insist that VMRO commits to like 6 months to resolving the problem with Bulgaria in 6 months. VMRO's position is not that strict, so they agreed to we need some gesture of goodwill from Bulgaria and some guarantees from the EU, and then we can vote on this on a delayed basis, so that the Bulgarians are added to the constitution, but it goes into effect after we join the EU or as we're joining the EU, so that we do not encourage more blockades. Bulgaria is going to have early elections, so we don't know what government will be talking to about this, but it's pretty reasonable to expect that some gestures may be made or interpreted as such in 6 months to justify, the Albanians remaining in the coalition, the Albanian opposition party. So, and if not, if all fails, we have local elections in 2025 in the spring, like a year from now. So we could easily make it early general election at a time when SDSM are still dabbling with themselves, and then VMRO could, easily win 61 votes on their own. This is the path, forward laid out by Nikola Gruevski in 2006, 2008. So that's very possible. If in the meantime, obviously, VMRO has some economic success, just present like a basic competency level, which SDSM failed to do, arrest some DUI SDSM people, which is much long delayed, releases political prisoners from prison, which Gordana Siljanovska says she would do. This primarily means the guys from the storming of the parliament, April 27th trials, who are still in prison. We're going to have a debate. Sorry?
She can also advocate to release the January 6th prisoners as well.
We would, the embassy is big enough. If Trump wins, they can come here. We can give them asylum at the embassy, and then let them run around. They look like nice enough guys.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna have Dewey up in arms, maybe
literally.
Mickovsky did say that there is an armed group led by the former deputy interior minister, significantly, sizable criminal, Dewey guy in Skopje, deployed in Skopje, preparing to do trouble if things go badly for them. The trouble could be primarily between the two, camps of Albanians. They're arguing between themselves, so they're debating who is more Albanian, because the issue is the winner among the ethnic Albanians, right?
Right.
But SDSM has like a highly placed ethnic Albanian candidate on their list. So are they an Albanian party? They will win some Albanian votes. VMRO has a smattering of other ethnicities, I'm sure Albanians, not on the list, but they will get some votes. And then Dujan and Vlin, before the elections, Dewey sensed that they're losing their touch because they had a major faction leave the party. Truizet Medjiti, this is like an escape vehicle for Dewey businessmen and public administration workers. They can just join Medjiti and still remain in their position, proximity to government, while abandoning Dewey. So Dewey says that they will have trouble. So they started courting Roma, Turkish, Bosniak, Macedonian Muslim parties or officials or activists. So they have now a coalition. While the Albanian opposition, they say, well, no, we remained exclusively Albanian. So if we are competing for the Albanian vote, we win 80,000 pure Albanian votes. It sounds pretty horrible when the parties are discussing this, but we are ethnically pure Albanian voters we have on our side, and you have 40,000 more votes, but you say that you were the big UÇK commander, but we don't remember the UÇK having a Roma, and they would use even the derogatory term for Roma here, and the Turks and the Bosniaks and even these Macedonians, they have an even more derogatory term for Macedonians. So you're mixed now, you're a mongrel coalition, we are a pure ethnic party, and if the discipline is who wins more Albanian votes, we are winning. it's even possible that VMRO would tactically have like a few thousand people vote here and there for the Albanian opposition. In cases where they figure that they will not win a seat, according to the election model, you have like a few thousand surplus votes in every district. They're smart enough to calculate this. They could give the Albanian opposition a few thousand votes here and there, help them even it out. Maybe they won't even have to, the message is that VMRO wins, Vlen joins the government no matter what, so Albanian voters get the message and they could actually beat DUI in the general elections on their own, even without outside help. Mm-hmm. One of the Turkish parties in the DUI coalition is already saying, well, of course we'll take the seat in parliament DUI gives us, and of course we'll leave the coalition immediately after the parliament is formed. We can have a lot of ugly debates on the Albanian side, and possibly some shooting, but I think the internationalists are quiet.
Yeah. Oh.
SDSM people are livid over this. They expect the US to intervene, and so long as there is no intervention from the US, we could expect the DUI will be kind of like, okay, maybe we don't go, full Lučeka. We have escape routes. We can flee to Kosovo, to Albania. Our people can join the Izzet Medžitis party. This is all like, they're not cornered.
Yeah.
They still have an escape route, and this might diffuse the danger of confrontation.
Right. Well, let's do this. That's a good analysis of what happened and what's going on and what we expect to come. But let's leave it at that for now and plan on a podcast on Thursday, May 9. Yep. We'll have the votes will be coming in on May 8. May 9 will probably make them official, and there may I suppose there's probably a few electoral districts where they may have to rerun some, depending on the complaints and things like that, as usual. But we'll know. So, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, good.
It's good. It's interesting. This is like, we may even have to read a list not only of people who entered parliament, but who fled the country and where, and who's in prison. So, very, very interesting times.
Well, yeah, and that was, I didn't realize the Vice Zayev's brother was out of the country, rumored to be out of the country.
Reportedly in Dubai, while Atrajca,
Yeah.
the cousin, is reportedly in Austria.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, we know for sure Zoran's in Zayev's in Washington or wherever that conference was. So
yeah.
Anyway,
where he came from, from whence he came.
Exactly. Yes. So, all right, good. That's a good roundup. We'll leave it at that. Episode 172 of the Macedonian Content Farmers Podcast, May Day, Commie Day. We'll talk the day after the elections.
On Victory in Europe Day.
Actually,
the Red Square Day, right?
Wait, actually, no. May. Hang on. Isn't May 9?
May 9.
May 9 is.
They declared it Europe Day.
May 9 is EU Day, right?
Yeah, but historical and originally it's the mostly in Russia celebrated as Victory in Europe Day, and through Russia, we would all in better times we would all go to the Red Square to congratulate Russia on their victory.
Wait, is that Victory in Europe Day is May 9?
Yeah.
No,
wait.
Of
course.
No, it's May 8. No, Victory in Europe Day is May 8.
I think technically it's considered that the Russians insisted that it's pushed one day later, and it's celebrated on May 9th.
Okay. Well, yeah. Professor Wikipedia says VE. It's VE Day, of course. Victory in Europe Day, as opposed to and then May 9 is EU Day, the Schumann Day or whatever it's called.
Yeah. No, but anyway. Here, in Eastern Europe, it was always Victory over Fascism Day, May 9th.
Right.
And you have the parade in Moscow.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see about that this year. Anyway, we'll have our own victory podcast on May 9th. So
Yeah, of course.
All right.
A lesser victory.
Sounds good. Yep. All right.
Okay.
Talk to you then.
Sure. Take care, buddy.
Take care.